Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. One click was all it took to dismantle an empire built on arrogance and unrequited love. The mouse button clicked with a satisfying, mechanical snap, and just like that, the sprawling, glass-walled penthouse overlooking the glittering skyline of Seoul was listed on the open market. I didn't hesitate. I didn't tremble. Across the room, the man I had served for 7 agonizing years was still pacing, a tumbler of amber whiskey splashing dangerously against the rim of his crystal glass as he shouted about him. Always him. You don't understand, Silas. Adrian wouldn't have looked at me with that pitying expression. Adrian understood the weight of this legacy. Julian Thorne, the CEO of Thorne Heavy Industries and the man who held my heart in a vice grip, hurled his glass against the far wall. It shattered, raining expensive shards onto the imported Italian marble. You are just. Here. You manage the schedule. You pour the wine. You are a shadow. Do not presume to tell me how to mourn the fact that he is getting married tomorrow. I looked at the notification on my tablet screen. Asterisk listing active. Pending review. Asterisk I adjusted my cufflink, the silver cool against my pulse. I am not telling you how to mourn, sir, I said, my voice terrifyingly steady. I am simply facilitating your next step. Since this home is suffocating you with memories of a man who never loved you, and since my presence is merely a shadow that insults his brilliance, I have taken the liberty of liquidating the asset. And my employment. Julian froze, his back to me, the tension in his broad shoulders distinct beneath the bespoke charcoal suit. What did you say? I said. I stood, picking up the tablet and placing it on the coffee table, right next to the engagement announcement of Adrian Vance that Julian had been staring at for 3 hours. The penthouse is for sale. The viewing starts at 8 a.m. I suggest you put on pants. The silence that stretched between us was heavy, laden with the dust of 7 years of unspoken devotion. It was a silence I had cultivated. I was Silas Vane, the perfect butler, the executive assistant, the keeper of secrets, and the invisible scaffold that held Julian Thorne upright. For 7 years, I had woken him with perfectly brewed espresso. I had managed his hostile takeovers, ironed the creases from his shirts, and soothed his temper when the board of directors pushed too hard. And for 7 years, I had listened to him pine for Adrian. Adrian Vance. The white moonlight. The pure, untouchable first love who had left for Paris to study art and never looked back. To Julian, Adrian was a saint. To me, Adrian was a ghost that haunted every hallway of this cold, sterile mansion. You're joking, Julian said, turning around. His eyes, usually sharp as obsidian, were rimmed with red. He looked wrecked. Handsome, devastatingly so, but wrecked. You can't sell my house, Silas. That's absurd. On the contrary, sir, I replied, clasping my hands behind my back. 3 years ago, to shield your assets during the antitrust investigation, you transferred the deed of this property and the discretionary power of attorney to me. You said, and I quote, "There is no one I trust more with my life than you, Silas." Apparently, that trust extends only to your finances, not your emotional bandwidth. Julian scoffed, a harsh, incredulous sound. He stepped over the shattered glass, his shoes crunching on the debris. He approached me, looming. He was a tall man, imposing, used to the air bending around him to accommodate his presence. Cancel it. Stop this childish tantrum. I'm upset about Adrian's wedding. I have a right to be upset. Don't make this about you. It isn't about me, Julian, I said, dropping the honorific. The omission struck him like a physical blow. His eyes widened slightly. It's about the fact that you have spent tonight shattering the china I selected, screaming at the walls I maintain, and looking at me, the man who has not slept in 40 hours because I was preparing your merger documents, and telling me I am a poor substitute for a man who hasn't spoken to you in a decade. I walked past him. The scent of him, sandalwood, whiskey, and the metallic tang of rage, filled my senses. It was a scent I was addicted to, a scent I had to detox from. Where are you going? He demanded, his voice rising. To pack, I said without turning back. The real estate agent is an aggressive woman. She'll be here early. The night was a blur of movement. I packed efficiently. My life in the penthouse was surprisingly compact. A few suits, my books, The watch Julian had given me for my 30th birthday. A careless gift, something his secretary had picked out, but I cherished it nonetheless. I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed in the servants' quarters, listening to the silence of the main house. Julian hadn't come to stop me. He had likely retreated to the study to drink more and stare at Adrian's photo. He thought I was bluffing. He thought Silas, the faithful dog, would never actually bite. He was wrong. The dog wasn't biting. The dog was dying, and this was the final rattle. Morning broke with a violent splash of gray light against the floor-to-ceiling windows. The penthouse was a masterpiece of modern architecture, cold, sleek, and void of soul. It was a museum where Julian displayed his loneliness. At 7:55 a.m., the elevator chimed. I was already in the foyer, dressed in a casual navy sweater and slacks. No tie, no vest. The uniform was gone. The door slid open, and Ms. Park, the realtor, stepped out, followed by a bewildered-looking couple. Ms. Park was a shark in a Chanel suit. I had hired her specifically because she terrified me. Mr. Vane, she beamed, her heels clicking on the floor. Right on time. And this must be the layout you described. Magnificent. The lighting is best in the morning, I said smoothly. Please, show them the living area. The owner is indisposed, but he is aware of the proceedings. Wait. The husband of the couple hesitated, looking around. Is that Julian Thorne? I turned. Julian was standing at the top of the floating staircase. He was wearing a silk robe, his hair messy, his face pale. He looked like a fallen god, or perhaps a demon ejected from hell. He stared down at the strangers in his foyer, then his gaze locked onto me. Silas, he growled. It wasn't a question anymore. It was a warning. Good morning, I said pleasantly to the buyers. The master suite is upstairs, but as you can see, the current resident is still vacating. Shall we look at the kitchen? It features a walk-in wine cellar. Get out, Julian said. His voice was low, vibrating through the cavernous space. The couple froze. Ms. Park's smile didn't waver, but her eyes darted between us. Sir, I addressed Julian. These people are potential buyers. Unless you wish to revoke the listing and pay the cancellation fee, which is substantial, I suggest you allow them to view the merchandise. Julian descended the stairs. He moved with a predatory grace, ignoring the guests completely. He stopped inches from me. You actually did it. I always complete my tasks, Julian. Why? The word was a jagged whisper. Because I yelled? Because I broke a glass? I'll buy you 1,000 glasses. I'll buy you the factory that makes them. You still don't get it. I said softly, so only he could hear. I'm not selling the house because I'm angry. I'm selling it because I'm leaving. And I know you, Julian. You can't survive in this mausoleum without me. I'm doing you a kindness. I'm forcing you to move on. Julian grabbed my wrist. His grip was iron hard. You aren't going anywhere. Excuse me. The woman of the couple piped up, looking terrified. Is this a bad time? It's a perfect time, I called back to her. The dynamic you are witnessing is included in the closing costs. It's called unresolved sexual tension and class war. Julian's eyes widened. What? I quit, Julian. The resignation letter is on your desk. The keys are on the counter. The power of attorney has been transferred back to your legal team as of midnight. I am no longer your butler. I am just a man who is tired of watching the man he loves cry over someone else. The silence that followed was absolute. Even Ms. Park stopped rustling her papers. I had said it. The forbidden thing. The truth that had rotted in my gut for years. Julian's face went slack. The anger drained away, replaced by a profound confusion. You. What? I love you. I said, and it felt like exhaling smoke. And because I love you, I cannot watch you destroy yourself over Adrian Vance for one more day. And I certainly cannot stand here and let you compare me to him. I am listing the house, Julian, because it's the only way I know how to burn the bridge so I can't run back across it. I pulled my wrist from his grasp. He was too stunned to hold on. Ms. Park, I said, the floor is yours. I walked toward the elevator. I didn't look back. I hit the button. The doors opened. I stepped in. Just as the doors were sliding shut, I saw Julian move. He didn't run toward me. He didn't shout. He just sank onto the bottom step of the stairs, burying his face in his hands, surrounded by strangers in the ruins of his perfect life. I checked into a hotel in Gangnam. It was small, nondescript, and cheap. I turned off my phone. I ordered takeout. I sat in the dark and waited for the relief to wash over me. It didn't come. Instead, a crushing sense of vertigo took hold. My entire identity had been Julian's butler. Without him, who was I? 2 days passed. I existed in a fugue state. On the third evening, there was a knock at the door. I didn't answer. Housekeeping knew not to disturb me. Silas. The voice came through the wood, muffled but unmistakable. It was Julian. But it wasn't the booming, arrogant voice of the CEO. It sounded raspy. Broken. Silas, open the door. Please. I know you're in there. I tracked your credit card. I know. It's an invasion of privacy. Sue me. Just open the door. I stared at the handle. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. I opened it. Julian stood in the hallway. He looked terrible. He was wearing jeans. I hadn't seen him in jeans in 5 years, and a wrinkled hoodie. He hadn't shaved. He looked like a college student who had just failed finals, not a billionaire tycoon. You look awful, I said. You took the coffee machine, he croaked. I took my coffee machine. The one in the kitchen is Italian and requires a degree in engineering to operate. You never bothered to learn. I haven't had coffee in 3 days, Silas. He leaned against the doorframe. Or sleep. Or anything. That's not my problem anymore. Isn't it? He looked at me, his dark eyes searching mine. You said you loved me. I stiffened. I said it as a parting statement. Not an invitation. Well, I heard it. Julian pushed past me into the room. He looked around the small, cramped space with distaste, then sat on the edge of the unmade bed. And I canceled the listing. Of course you did. I sighed, closing the door but staying near it. You like your cage? No. Julian shook his head. I canceled it because I realized you were right. I can't live there. I blinked. What? I burned the photos, Julian said. He was looking at his hands. After you left. Those people. The buyers. They started talking about tearing down the wall in the study. The wall where I kept Adrian's painting. And I didn't care. I didn't care about the wall. I cared that you weren't there to tell them they were idiots. He looked up at me. I went to the study. I looked at Adrian's picture. And I tried to remember the last time he made me laugh. I couldn't. Then I remembered the time you dropped that tray of champagne at the gala because I made a joke about the ambassadors to pay, and you tried to stifle a laugh and failed. I remembered that clearly. Julian. I'm an idiot, Silas. I'm a colossal, arrogant, blind idiot. I've been worshipping a memory because it was safe. Adrian is gone. He's happy. He doesn't need me. But you. He stood up and took a step toward me. You were there. Every day? Fixing me. Holding me up. And I treated you like furniture. You did, I said, my voice trembling. You hurt me, Julian. You made me feel invisible. I know. He stopped in front of me. He didn't touch me. He looked afraid to touch me. I fired the staff. I told the board I'm taking a sabbatical. I don't know how to use the washing machine. I don't know how to make toast without burning it. I am pathetic without you. I'm not coming back to be your butler, Julian. I don't want a butler, he shouted, then winced, lowering his voice. I don't want a butler. I want you. I want the man who had the guts to list my own house out from under me. I want the man who looked me in the eye and told me the truth when everyone else lies to my face. He reached out, his fingers hovering over my hand. I don't know if I love you yet, Silas. I don't know what love is supposed to feel like because I thought it was supposed to be pain. I thought loving Adrian was noble because it hurt. But with you, the last 3 days have been hell. Not because of the coffee, but because the house was quiet. It was just empty. He took my hand. His palm was warm, damp with sweat. Come back, he whispered. Not as an employee. I'll hire a staff. A fleet of them. You don't lift a finger. Just come back. Be with me. Teach me how to be the person you deserve. I looked at him. This powerful, broken man. The viper who had terrorized the business world, now trembling in a budget hotel room. I have conditions, I said. Name them. Anything. No more talk of Adrian. If you mourn him, you do it in therapy, not at the dinner table. Done. I already booked a therapist. Dr. Lee. She seems scary. And I stepped closer, closing the gap between us. I reached up and straightened the collar of his hoodie, a reflex I couldn't suppress. If you ever compare me to anyone else again, I won't list the house, Julian. I'll burn it down. Julian let out a breath that sounded like a sob. He wrapped his arms around my waist, burying his face in my neck. He was heavy, solid, and real. Deal. Burn it. Burn it all, as long as you're holding the match. I hesitated, then wrapped my arms around his shoulders. He smelled of stale air and despair, but underneath, he was still Julian. My Julian. You have a lot of groveling to do, I murmured into his hair. I know, he mumbled against my skin. I have a lifetime to do it. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. The power dynamic was shattered, the pieces lying on the floor like the glass he had broken. We would have to build something new from the shards. Something sharper, more dangerous, and infinitely more real. I hadn't just listed a mansion. I had demolished a wall. And for the first time in 7 years, Julian Thorne was stepping out of the rubble, not looking at the moon, but looking at me. And that is how the viper tamed the wolf. If you enjoyed seeing Silas take control and bring a CEO to his knees, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you forgive a man who treated you like a shadow for 7 years, even if he crawled back? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then.